Where to begin? Today's show feels different to me because I'm reviewing the Eminent Technology LFT8b hybrid panel speaker. I thought this speaker was going to be kind of like a Magnepan, right? That's what I thought I was getting into. No, this sounds better than any Magnepan I've ever heard in this room. And that isn't where I thought this was going. No, it actually sounds more like an electrostatic speaker than the Magnepans do. And that's good. Its transparency, its purity, its clarity is extraordinary, but better than any electrostatic speaker that I've ever heard. It has a density to the sound, a weight to the sound. There's a substance to the sound that I just love because I'm not that big a fan of electrostatic speakers. So anyway, this was like the perfect balance between planar magnetic sound and electrostatic speaker sound, and the best of both and something even beyond that. Because it's more dynamic than an electrostatic speaker. It's more dynamic than any Magnepan I've ever heard in this room. So yeah, this was going to be quite a ride. Now, as for the hybrid aspect of the design, start with the tweeter. The tweeter is 21 inches tall. It's a ribbon tweeter. The mid-range, well, mid-range is large. It's 3.5 inches wide and it's 42 inches tall. It is a planar magnetic design, but unlike the Magnepans I've had in this room, it is push-pull, meaning there are magnets in front of the diaphragm and behind the diaphragm. That's really interesting. And then the woofer is an 8-inch sealed box mass-loaded woofer. So yeah, no Maggie's ever had a woofer on them. And the difference in dynamics and push and drive to the sound of the speaker, again, exceeds what I have experienced with Magnepans in this room. So I am definitely pumped. I had such a good time exploring the sound of this speaker. By the way, the LFT8 comes with a cloth grill that covers the entire height of the speaker. It makes for a much neater appearance. And there's also a separate grill that covers the back part of the panel. I want to talk a little bit about the man behind the design and the company. His name is Bruce Tigpen, and he doesn't fit the mold of your average high-end speaker designer. First of all, because when he started Eminent Technology in 1983, 40 years ago, he didn't design a speaker. He designed a linear tracking tone arm, which is still in production to this date, continuously in production. And some of my more knowledgeable turntable friends say this is a very serious tone arm. The LFT8, the original LFT8, arrived in 1990. That's saying something. So the speaker I'm reviewing has been around for 33 years. In 2005, he introduced this rotary subwoofer, or I would call it a subwoofer. Yeah, because it looks like a fan. But it produces extremely deep bass down to 1 hertz up to only 20 hertz. So it's actually, you would use it under a subwoofer frequency-wise, right? Now, I heard it demonstrated at a show around that time in the early 2000s, and I was knocked out, physically knocked out by this subwoofer, how deep and powerful and how it completely energized a room. And then in 2023, Bruce did this. This is a guitar amplifier speaker. It's very thin, as you can see. It's the equivalent, I guess, radiating area of 4 12-inch drivers. Anyway, Bruce is very proud of that. It seems to have had a really strong, positive reaction at trade shows. So he's off and running with that. Eminent Technology designs and builds their speakers in Tallahassee, Florida. The LFT8 price is $3,200 a pair. The available finishes are black, for the trim pieces, black, oak, and walnut. Now, here's the thing. Eminent Technology has 5 brick-and-mortar dealers in the US. And Bruce told me, to be frank, most of the sales are direct in the US, in other words, without the dealers, and the shipping is free. So the price is $3,200 a pair, including shipping, in the United States. But here's the thing, he also sells direct to the UK and most of Europe, and the shipping is not free, but it is not crazy, and it definitely is cheaper than going through a distributor in those different countries. So anyway, it's a good deal for everyone involved. Oh, and the warranty runs to 3 years. Impedance is a very easy to drive 8 ohms, and it doesn't droop much below 8 ohms. But the sensitivity is definitely on the low side. It's an 84 dB spec. Yeah, an insensitive speaker it is. It likes power, and I gave it some power. Before we go any further, I just want to point something out. If you have only lived with box speakers, a box with direct radiating drivers on the front baffle, you're missing out on this completely different way of playing music in your room. Dipole speakers, not just the LFT8b, but all dipole speakers, they don't do any much side radiation. The sound is projected forward and back. So in terms of the reflections off the side walls and stuff, much less of an issue with dipole speakers. That's the start. But here's the thing. You don't want to jam this speaker near the wall behind it, right? It could be at least 2 feet or 3 feet or 4 feet. I was having them about 4.5 feet away from the wall behind the speakers. That's where they sounded best, with just a slight degree of toe-in. Basically, you're aiming them at the listening position. And I was about 9 feet away from them. Now here's the thing, they do like power. So I still had the Gato PWR222 amplifiers here. They had plenty of power, 250 watts per channel. That was my favorite amp with these speakers. But I also used the Pass Labs XA25 and the NAD M23 because they all made great sounds with this speaker. The other thing, very important, is not at first. I guess they needed some break-in, but over time and as I experimented, they played quiet pretty well. Not as good as a horn speaker does or a very high sensitivity speaker, but they played quiet levels very nicely, meaning I didn't feel the urge that I had to turn them up louder to feel something, right? They played quiet well, they played mid-loud pretty good, and they played loud with real gusto. So not like insanely loud, not 110 dB loud, but loud, certainly loud enough for me. So I was very satisfied with how this speaker energized the room at quiet, mid, and loud listening levels. Looking at the back of the speaker, you'll see there are bi-wire speaker connectors plus a 3-position tweeter level adjustment. And I was usually running the speaker at the minimum tweeter level. All right, so let's get to the good part. What does the LFT8b sound like? Well, it sounds big because it is a big speaker. It's skinny, but it's big. And it projects a wall of sound, but one that just floats free of the speakers. You don't ever feel like the instruments are clinging to the speakers. They're just in this space, my room. But here's the thing, it does focus of each instrument, not just image-wise, but the focus of each instrument and each singer is more clearly defined and more present, more complete. Now, Magnepans can do this, but not nearly as well. In other words, the spaces between the instruments and between the singers is more sharply delineated through the LFT8b. And the bass, those 8-inch woofers, I know it's only 8 inches, but they are hugging the floor, and they are just so fast and quick and agile. I can't say the blend between the woofer and the panel is 100%, but it's really good and likely better than any subwoofer you would pair with another speaker, including a Magnepan. So it's almost there, but I'll have more about the woofer later on in this video. But anyway, I was super impressed with just how fast and clear and transparent this speaker is, but at the same time, it's not thin and ethereal. I mean, I have friends that love electrostatic speakers, especially quads, and they always sound a little too lightweight to me. They don't have any thrust to them, and this speaker can do that. It just feels that way, well into the mid-range. The music has more density, more weight, more substance to it. It feels more real. For sort of a classical feel, I used this album, this Philip Glass Yo-Yo Ma collaboration, Nagoya Scazzi. I'm sure I'm mangling the name. And it's orchestral at times, it's very dynamic, and this speaker handled the dynamics very well. But the sound has more soul to it. The strings feel very real. No hard edge to the strings. They had the proper blend of sweetness and detail. Really, really impressive. And scale. I mean, it's a big sounding recording. And these speakers do big scale. Surprisingly well for, let me remind you, a $3,200 speaker. So how do I follow Philip Glass? How about some Isaac Hayes, the theme from Shaft? It's a freaking masterpiece of just energy and that forward propulsion, the drums, the cymbals, the electric guitar. It's just phenomenal. And that's the kind of music that I turned it up and I played it loud and I was just, now it's not an audiophile recording. It's not a pretty sounding recording, but it works in terms of the energy that it's putting forward and you just feel it. You feel connected and you can't sit still when you're listening to the theme from Shaft. It's not an option. Moving on from the Gato PWR222 mono amps, I popped in the NAD M23. And that's a terrific pairing, but doesn't have that hyper clarity and beauty that I was getting from the 222, but the 222 is more than double the price of the NAD. The NAD was no slouch, but it presents a more sweeter sound, very powerful. The dynamics were definitely all there, but that delineation thing wasn't as clear as I was getting from the Gato PWR222. I know that some of you were thinking, okay, Steve, but how does it compare to the Magnepan LRS Plus? I have one here, so of course I had to do that comparison. And I'm sorry, there's no comparison. And this was with the Gato PWR222 mono amps for both speakers. But the LFT8b just is a bigger speaker. It sounds bigger, just spatially bigger, more dynamically alive, more bass punch thanks to that 8-inch sealed box woofer. And even if you added a woofer to the LRS Plus, it's not going to integrate like this integrates. So, sorry, there's no comparison there. Oh, and then there's the thing about just resolving detail and hearing into the mix. The LFT8b just does that so much better than the LRS Plus. Okay, but if you only have $1,000 and you want to explore the sound of dipole speakers, well, yeah, then get an LRS Plus. Maybe add a subwoofer, because what it does for $1,000 is still absolutely extraordinary. So I'm not putting it down. I'm not dismissing the LRS Plus. I'm just saying a little more than 3 times the price. Yeah, the LFT8b is the way to go. Of course, I did spend some time listening to the Past Labs XA25 amplifier with the LFT8b, and basically it's in the middle between the NAD M23 and the Gato 222. It has some of both. It actually sounds a bit warmer. The Past sounds a bit warmer and fuller than the Gato, which I actually do like a lot. So anyway, it's definitely an option for half the price of the Gato 222. And then I also spent a bit of time listening with a linear tube audio 40-watt power amplifier. It's a tube power amplifier. It's a little underpowered here, but at quieter listening levels, it brought a lot to the party in terms of dimensionality, of solidity to the sound. It was really, really beautiful, but it did not have the dynamic slam of any of the solid-state amplifiers. So there's that. You know, at this point, I need to interrupt this rave review to bring some perspective to the story, some reality, right? I am not claiming that the Eminent Technology LFT8b is the perfect speaker for everyone in every situation. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying if you want this speaker, you have to be able to give it some space, some room to breathe. You need to use really good electronics to bring out its best. But I will say, as you get better and better, it scales. I'm not saying you need to spend a fortune on electronics, but it really shows off what you do in the rest of the system will be evident in the sound of this speaker. But it doesn't sound like a horn. It doesn't sound like a Klipsch Forte or a Cornwall that can play louder with ease. bigger dynamics, more slam, more feel it in your chest excitement from rock music if you're into Metallica or heavy metal or just crazy loud techno or something. This probably isn't the best choice. It's, as I said, it's not for everyone. It's what it does well is what I'm describing up to this point in the review. So I'm just giving you some proportion here. And I'm not doing a comparison because I don't have them here, but I think that the Vandersteen 2C signature speaker that I reviewed this year has some of that. It is in its own way an open baffle design. It images with great precision. It's a wonderful speaker. It's got some serious bottom end power. So that is worth considering. Since I didn't have it here to do a direct comparison, I can't say exactly how they would line up. But it's a terrific speaker. And then again, for a lot more money, the Vivid Kaya 25 that I reviewed recently, that is an extraordinary speaker and also did some amazing imaging and just beauty to the sound, terrific top end, and it looks really pretty. But it's $14,000. So next up, I wanted to do an actual comparison with my reference speakers, the Pure Audio Project Duet 15s. Now, obviously, they're not nearly as tall, but they are wider, and they have a 15-inch woofer. That's a lot bigger than an 8-inch, and an 8-inch full-range driver in the Duet 15. So the Duet 15 had more oomph to the sound, more weight to the sound, it just energized the room more completely in low end than the LFT8b. But the LFT8b had superior focus and transparency, and that delineation of each instrument and vocal in the image was much better on the LFT8b. And by the way, the Duet 15 is about double the price of the LFT8b. But here's another twist to this review of the LFT8b. Well, there's another model. It looks very, very similar, at least from the front, the LFT8c, which uses a different woofer, an active woofer system that's dipole. So there's still an 8-inch woofer in the front, though it's not the same 8-inch, and a separate 6.5-inch woofer in the back. It's an active design. It uses DSP. But here's the good news. Anybody that has an original LFT or the one I'm reviewing, the LFT8b, you can upgrade and just get this woofer, and it just basically screws into place. So yeah, it looks like I'm going to get that 8C woofer, and I will report back to you when that happens. It'll be a while, but it's definitely going to happen. And by the way, the price, if you just buy the pair of active woofers, is very reasonable. It's $1,600 a pair, free shipping in the United States, and direct sale everywhere, plus shipping. Now, and the price of a complete LFT8c is $4,500 a pair. That's pretty neat. And I'm really looking forward to doing the next part of this review with the 8C. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's do, so Steve, what do you really think of the Eminent Technology LFT8b? I think it's extraordinary. I mean, for this price, for $3,200 a pair, I don't think there's anything that you could compare it to that would have its strengths of purity, of clarity, of the way it images, the bass, precision and power. Yeah, and the Eminent Technology website looks like 1990. I know it's clunky and everything, but there's a lot of information on the site. And there's a lot of information in the owner's manual, which you should check out if you can find it on the site. But anyway, there's a lot there, but you got to forgive the clunky website. But anyway, the speaker itself, absolutely extraordinary. I am so glad I'm doing this review. All right, now we can settle down and take in the Audiophiliac viewer system of the day. Wayne sent this one in, and it is a DIY speaker project based on a Siegfried Linkwitz plan. The speakers are actually called the Linkwitz LX Minis. Then there's an Outlaw Audio 7000X. It's a 7-channel amplifier to drive different parts of this speaker system. There's a Doge Tube DAC, Tavish Design Phono preamplifier, L-Kit Tube preamplifier, Project Turntable with HANA cartridge, and there's a mini DSP active crossover. Thank you, Wayne. Okay, we are back. My name is Steve Guttenberg, and I am the Audiophiliac, and I am the real one, the fake, the scoundrel Steve Guttenberg is causing mischief with my viewers asking for money, which I would never, ever, ever do to ask you to send money to me, except for my Patreon. The address is on the screen right now. Super easy to do. You can join and contribute for just a couple of bucks a month, up to 50 or 100. Patreon accepts payment in dollars, pounds, and euros, pretty much any currency at all at this point. So anyway, if you'd like to help out, I would recommend it. And by the way, if you're a manufacturer and I'm asking you for product, beware that it's not, that it could be the fake Steve Guttenberg. I'm just saying, he's definitely, he's out there causing mischief. And if you like the videos, just hit the like button. It's really helpful. I know a lot of YouTubers say it, and it's true. So if you like what I do, please remember to hit the like button. And if you have yet to subscribe, please do so. Thanks for hanging in there. I really, really do hope to see you back here again very, very soon. Bye-bye.